talk for a minute. I mean, the ultimate goal of what we're doing here is just to develop a system inside that enables us to live here like happy people. Not like happy people, but enables us to live here and be happy, to have open hearts. They say throughout history, in every church, synagogue, mosque, God is love. And it's really true. And it's that kind of love that is the essential ingredient in any kind of inner development and to have a spiritual life. I mean, I always say it and I'll say it again. Happy people are enlightened people, people that could live every day with open hearts, with love inside them, and that have compassion and kindness in their life and are willing to understand how essential it is to be of service in the world, to oneself, to other human beings, to not be judgmental, to not, have better opinions than any, but to listen to life and let life be one's teacher. So, to do this, we sit here and do deep inner work to develop a chakra system that makes it possible to live this way. Because the words are one thing, all the books written about it are one thing, but actually doing it is a whole other experience. Because the very nature of this work we do is ultimately, it has to become experiential, not something you know about in your head or you have analyzed and figured out and all the, you know, cosmologies and metaphysical, the deities and this, it's all nonsense unless one can become a living expression of God's energy on the planet Earth. And our job is to build an inner life that makes this possible. Our job is to develop within ourselves the strength to truly live that way. Not to allow all the external and material things that go on in the world to suck our energy out of us, but to be strong enough to be able to deal with life, to be able to, allow life to teach us what we have to do. And at the same time, we're connected to spirit. We're connected to a higher energy in the universe. And life itself isn't some huge vacuum cleaner sucking us dry, which it is with most people. Life is some kind of vacuum cleaner that sucks the vital energy out of them. To keep that from happening, we have to use deep meditation practice to build a system inside that enables us, to be strong enough not to be able to be sucked dry by life, to embrace life, to allow life to be our teacher. I say this all the time because I think it's probably one of the most important things I've learned in my own life. Not for me to know better than life, but for me to learn from life what I have to do every day to grow. And some of the lessons, as I say a lot, are very difficult lessons. We get some good kicks in the butt, to remind us that we haven't arrived yet and we have a lot of work to do on ourselves. And that basically is what this meditation is for. This meditation is not a religion. It's not, any kind of thing like that. It's simply a technique you learn that can help you to do three things: to open and receive spiritual energy, to work out your karma in the world. And how do you do that? By building a system that's capable of having compassion, love, kindness, and to activate Kundalini, which is the pathway to enlightenment. In order to do these three things, we have to get really strong inside. We have to build a system inside that enables us to do it. And that's all meditation is about. It's not about me getting students and having disciples. And I'm really not interested. What I'm interested in is people that truly want a spiritual life, and that people who will open deep enough so the energy and Shakti of these classes will be transmitted to them and they can take it inside and absorb it and allow it to help them build, a chakra system that's strong enough to do what I'm talking about. That's all this is about. It's not some complicated religious, dogmatic, there are no rituals, nothing like that, and thank God for that, because there were a lot of rituals. I'd be the last one to be doing this, I never could take all that stuff, all that ritualistic stuff. It would always make me crazy, you know? But it's a direct line between oneself and God, and building a system inside that enables us to do this. And I think that to me is an amazing simplification of this whole thing about what it means to have a spiritual life. And then what is the dialogue? It's the dialogue between each and every one of us and God. And each and every one of those dialogues is going to be unique. You know, all this is it's a Shakti transfer, it's a nurturing, it's a, making it possible to do what I'm talking about. To have one's own unique dialogue with God, to be one's own unique person, and to allow spiritual energy to develop inside ourselves so that one day we can pass it on to somebody else. Maybe not the way I do it, but in the way that each and every one of us organically can do this. And I frankly like this way of doing. I was never very good at it has to be this way. It always drove me crazy. It has to be, doesn't. Everybody's unique, and it has to be according to our own uniqueness. And all the meditation is about is getting nurturing, getting energy, getting Shakti, building a chakra system inside ourselves that is strong enough to have a connection with higher energy in the universe. So please, there's a lot to be grateful for. And if you just open your heart and feel that gratitude, stay centered and use the breathing properly, take in the Shakti, and don't try to figure it out. I've been doing this for a very long time. I gave up figuring this out, I think, the second day after I started doing it. I said, no way I'm going to ever understand this. And the miracle of it is that it works. It really does miraculous things to transform people if they open and allow it to work on them. And you don't have to be a Buddhist, a Hindu. You can be my God, you could be an atheist and do this. It doesn't matter, agnostic. You can, whatever you are, that, you start from there and it all grows and changes into something else. So please, everyone, try to work really deeply inside, and we'll have a meditation. And if anyone has a question after the meditation, I'll be happy to try and answer it. So God bless you all for being here, and we'll have a class. If anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer. I remember once years ago listening to Rudi talking about having, a lot of people in this meditation class. Somebody mentioned, well, what if you had 1,000 people in your class? And he said something that really affected me so deeply. He said, well, I'll take them all into my heart. And this is exactly what's happening here, taking everybody that attends these classes into my heart. And, making a commitment to do the best that I can possibly do, to transmit Shakti and help people to grow in their lives. And I couldn't ask for a better way to live, frankly, because one learns how to unconditionally serve higher energy in the universe. And having you all here is like a miracle for me, because it forces me to do that, to take everybody into my heart. and to find a place where each and every person that attends the class can be nurtured. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, but for those that it works for, it's pretty miraculous what takes place in this meditation. I mean, I made a commitment to my daughter to spend a year living with her to help her. And at one point in the commitment, and I thought that what would really help her is the meditation. You know, I'll do meditation with her every day, and it didn't help her, you know? And I said to myself one day, Stuart, you're doing it the wrong way. I said, you're doing it, just listen to her and find out what she really needs. And when I started doing it, suddenly these things started to manifest that were extraordinary. And they transformed her. So we didn't have a meditation class for about 3 months. And yesterday she came up to me and said, Daddy, can we meditate? And it's how things come back, you know? And you have to listen to life to find out what works for people and not shove down their throat what we think works for them. It's such an important way of living in the world because it truly gives us a way of communicating with other human beings that's so profound and really nurturing, and you give them room to grow in their life, to find out what they have to do with their lives. So when she came to me yesterday and said, Daddy, can we meditate? And I said, yeah, no problem. We can meditate. So she said, I really have to do this because my life is changing so much that I got to get very strong inside to deal with it. And I said, well, okay, you got me. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question. It's Paula. Can you talk about
Please try and sit still. Go ahead, Paula.
If I have a response, say a snappy response, and then I beat myself up after for reacting in that way. Could you talk about that? Because then that stays with me, and then that feeling of feeling bad, and then I'm observing the feeling bad about it.
Paul, I talk about this so much, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, I mean, look, that is just telling you you have to grow and be grateful instead of beating yourself up and say, I'm grateful for this. This is showing me that I haven't arrived yet. I have work to do on myself. I have to build my inner life to get stronger. So things like this don't bother me for days and weeks and months, So be grateful for it. If you make a mistake, be grateful for the mistake. If you say something wrong to somebody, just apologize and be grateful for it and don't beat yourself up. And just say, look, I gotta grow. I have work to do on me and there's nothing wrong with that. Just simply admitting to yourself, I have not arrived yet. It takes a big burden off your shoulders, I'll tell you, frankly. Suddenly there's a lightness of being about you when you can finally just admit that to yourself. I haven't arrived yet, and I'm not guilty that I haven't arrived yet. I have this work to do, and this work is miraculous work that can really transform me, give me a connection with God, give me a spiritual life, and enable me to function here on the highest level of what it means to be a human being. So you don't have to beat yourself up. Just be grateful. You made a mistake. You said something you shouldn't have. You did something. We all do it. I do it. And I've been doing this meditation a lot longer than you. And now at least I have the capacity to laugh at myself. Stuart, schmuck, what did you do? What did you do?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Try this. It works. Just give it a shot. Does anyone else have a question? I remember once walking across Manhattan with Rudi, going from his gallery to the meditation class. And in that 20-minute walk, You know, he always did most of the talking. Rudi really liked to talk, and he was very charismatic with it. And a lot of energy came out of it. I never give a damn. It was just energy for me. And he complained there was nothing right with the world in that 20 minutes. Nothing. You know, he was just bitching about everything, everybody and everything. He was, you know, I think he had a really hard day that day. And when we finally got to the meditation room, you know, I could see that he had relaxed. And I said to myself, Stuart, you know, this man has saved your life. And if he's had a hard day, you can take his tension. You can let him dump his tension on you and not get offended by it. He got up on the stage, on the altar there to teach, sat down in his chair, and he began to talk about love and gratitude. And it was the most unbelievable talk, that I heard him give, you know? And it was the exact opposite of everything I heard while I was walking across Manhattan with him. And I realized, what was he doing? He had a hard day, so he was using me to get rid of all that tension. Okay, person saved my life. Let him use me that way. Why should I be offended? You know, and to me, it wasn't anything but Shakti. It was energy coming at me. And I just kept taking it in and using it to grow inside myself. Learning that lesson with him taught me how to do this with just about anybody, you know? You don't get intimidated by people, you know, you just listen to them and it's just energy. But that was an incredible lesson for me. And I was a young student with him. I don't know, maybe 6 months. I was studying with him. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And that probably happened 50 times with Rudi. I'm sitting there in a store meditating and he's fighting with his mother. It's unbelievable. Get in the back, do the books, get in the back. It was incredible. And I'm like, you know, and I'm sitting there taking, it's just energy. I'm taking in the energy. You know? I didn't care. I was around my teacher. This man did more for me than anyone in my life, more than my parents, you know? I loved him more than anyone on the earth. And he was just energy. I remember his mother once came up to me, never forget this. She said to me, Stuart, you get your energy from God. I get my energy from diamonds. Just cracked me up. And I looked at her and it was real. It was truth. You know, understand? She had no, the meditation, okay, you know, but she got her energy from material things, you know, diamonds and jewelry. And when I looked at her, I just started to laugh. I laughed so hard. I said, Ray, I love you. I said, you know, at least you're honest. Bullshit. Yeah. Does anyone else have a question? And then life is that way, you know, you can't take it too seriously because there's so much bullshit in the world. And there's so much nonsense that goes on. And if you take it too seriously, it destroys you. You got to be able to laugh at it and let it just blow right by you. And, you know, all the stuff that goes on. I mean, you just turn on the news, for God's sake. I mean, it's like a circus, you know, a circus of insanity. You know, and you can't get caught up in it. All right, you know, that's what's going on. Thank God I'm living on a different level, you know? Does anyone else have a question? So I just want you all to know there's a very deep place for everybody in my heart. And I'm so grateful people show up for these classes. You know, I mean, I know COVID made this possible, but I'm not grateful for COVID. It's a horrible thing going on. but I'm just grateful that all these people all of you show up, and I can find a place in myself for everyone that comes here. And you being here really forces me to go deep, deep inside myself, to try and nurture everyone that attends these classes. So God bless you all, and thank you for doing this. It's really a miracle. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well then there'll be meditation tomorrow evening, and I hope to see you all there. Bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.